different movies, all musicals. None of them were terribly successful, and Warner Brothers couldn't find any more vehicles for her, and she was sort of in a quandary as to what to do next. And Transco, a company in Hollywood, which existed exclusively for producing radio shows, put her under contract. Transco produced basically 15-minute shows on the 16 discs, which they then sold or rented or loaned, etc., to radio stations throughout the country that didn't have a network affiliation. And most of these were series of anywhere from 39 episodes to 72 episodes. Irene made 2 series for them. We don't know the length, but I'm guessing probably 39 for each. One of them concerned a case in which she went over to England and arrested a bank robber and was bringing him back on the Scottish ship, and all hell breaks loose. The one we're going to play for you tonight is the first episode of one involving a invention of a comic ray war weapon. And she's in charge of protecting the professor who created this. Now, there were always 3 main characters in all of her episodes. Her pseudo boyfriend was Jimmy Gifford, who was a reporter, and he's hanging on her all the time on every case. Her companion and assistant is a policeman with no apparent authority. His name is Sergeant Fitzgerald, and he's the comedy relief. I don't know who played any of these other roles. Transco, of course, had a large corral of good radio voices that they used in these transcription discs. So this will be the first episode then of the mystery of the cosmic ray war weapon.
What time does the Washington plane arrive? Due here now, sir. I think I hear it circling the field right now. Thanks. Where's the passenger platform? 3rd lane to your left, sir. Thank you. Is the Washington ship coming up?
Yeah, you can't go outside the railing, though. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, man.
Hello, ma'am. You remember me?
Yes, well, I hardly expected you to meet me.
Yeah, the chief wired me last night, ma'am.
Oh, I see.
Taxi, man?
Do you have a car, Sergeant?
No, ma'am.
Well, we better take this taxi then.
Yeah, suits me, ma'am. Plaza Hotel, driver.
Yes, sir.
Well, Sergeant, how you been keeping yourself?
Well, pretty good, ma'am. Had things all set for my hunting trip until I got the chief wire.
Oh, dear.
What's up?
I'm afraid you're going to miss that hunting trip for a while, but we've just been having another assignment.
Oh, Miss Delroy. And what do those guys up there think we are? It's been 2 years since I had a vacation. I got things all set.
Sorry, Sergeant. Orders are orders.
What is it this time?
Nothing difficult. War department. I'll explain it all to you when we get to the hotel.
All right, ma'am. Step on it, driver. Yes, sir.
Like the hotel, sir.
Oh, good. I'll take your bag, Miss Delroy. Here you go, buddy.
Thanks. Gee, a 10 spot.
Yeah. What? Yeah, give me that. Yeah, there you are. Oh, yes, sir. No wonder I'm always losing money.
What did you do, Sergeant?
I gave that guy a $10 bill for a 1, ma'am. Come on, we'll Friday. I reserved your room this morning.
Nice of you, Sergeant. A corner room, I presume.
$10 a day.
Why, but you're generous with Uncle's money.
Well, why not? Desk is right here, ma'am. This is Miss Delroy.
Ah, indeed. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Miss Delroy.
Thank you.
It's not often that we have a world-famous person like you here, Miss.
I'm afraid I'm terribly overrated. A pen, please?
Certainly. Here are some telegrams and letters. And in regard to the press,
What about the press?
well, there have been a dozen reporters hanging around all morning. You'll want to see them?
Why, no. What do they want with me?
Well, there's a rumor that you've just been assigned to another big case.
Oh, well, it's false.
Oh, you don't want to see them?
No. Will you tell them that I'm merely here on pleasure and that I'm not assigned to any case and that I'd rather not see them until tomorrow?
As you wish, Miss Delroy. Are you going up now?
Yes, please.
Boy, front. You know, them newspaper guys kept me up all night until I threatened to toss one of them down the fire escape.
Yes, sir. Take Miss Delroy to her room, boy. The elevator to your right, miss.
Thank you. Well, it's only a natural curiosity on the part of the readers, I suppose, Dick. But I do wish we could get one assignment without being followed by the press.
Yeah. I'm glad that Gifford guy isn't around. You know, that bird gets in my hair.
Jimmy isn't a bad sort, Sergeant. I'm becoming quite attached to him, really.
You don't have to have no telescope to see that much. And don't tell me that that's the only reason he follows you around is to get his newspaper stories. You know, that guy's stuck on you, ma'am.
It's not as serious as that, Dick.
No? Well, I'm glad he stayed in Washington. Yeah, I put one over on him with those El Politos in the Senate affair, didn't I? Huh? Was his face red. This way, ma'am.
You really deserve the credit for that case, Sergeant. It was largely due to your persistence that we brought about a solution.
Oh, ma'am, I wasn't. Oh, here's the room. I hope it suits you, ma'am.
Oh, blue. Well, that was thoughtful of you, Sergeant. It'll be very comfortable.
Yeah, and private, too. You know the way them newspaper hounds are dogging your footsteps.
What's that about the newspaper hounds, my friend?
Say what?
Jimmy Gifford. Well, how on earth did you get here?
Well, it's supposed to be a secret, but I came in by plane this morning. Fact is, I flew in myself.
Yeah, it's too bad you didn't fly into a mouth.
Now, tut, Sergeant. Here, have a cigar.
Thanks. Oh, El Polito, eh?
Your favorite brand, Sergeant. Tell me, Irene, how's everything?
You mean, what am I doing here?
Always the same old businesswoman. All right. What are you doing here?
It's a secret, Gifford. She's dodging pests.
Huh?
Here's your hat.
Now, don't be so rude, Sergeant. I'm here, shall we say, to enjoy the climate, to drink in the beautiful scenery, to travel into
You
the...
couldn't be here at the request of Lieutenant Commander Christopher Markham, could you?
What do you know about Commander Markham, Jimmy?
Nothing, except that he's working on something secret and has appealed to the Department of Justice for protection.
What's this all about, Miss Delroy? You'd think this guy was the head of the department to hear him talk.
Well, he might as well be. Nothing ever seems to escape him.
It is true, then?
Yes, to a certain extent. Sit down, Sergeant. As long as Jimmy knows why we're here, I might as well enlighten you. Well, I can't understand how on earth Jimmy got wind of it.
That guy has a nose like a pointer.
Sergeant, you flatter me. What's the dope on the Markham business, Irene?
Well, nothing you can print, Jimmy. But if you want to follow along waiting for something to break, it'll be all right with me.
Okay, thanks, Irene.
Chief Thomas called me into his office early last evening and asked me if I'd ever heard of Lieutenant Commander Markham. I told him that I knew him only from newspaper accounts.
You mean this guy who's going up in a balloon to do something or another?
Well, your knowledge of the gentleman hardly does him credit. Commander Markham has been working for months upon the perfecting of a new weapon of war, some adaptation or other of cosmic ray forces.
Yeah?
And recently his researchers have arrived at such a point that it is necessary for Commander Markham to make a flight into the stratosphere to obtain new cosmic ray data.
Well, where does the Department of Justice come into it, Irene? I understood that Markham's venture was purely a private nature.
And it is. Now, this is in the greatest secrecy, Jimmy. And that goes for you, Sergeant. Because he was not able to make his plans public, Markham couldn't use public money for the work. He secured only recently the backing of Lawrence Abbott, the millionaire munitions maker.
But as Gifford asked, where do we fit in?
I'm getting to that bit. Of late, Commander Markham has noticed that attempts were being made to either prevent or delay his researches. And the day before yesterday, Markham himself was the target for a bullet which narrowly escaped killing him.
We had the story that Markham had burned his arm in his workshop.
Well, that's the story that was given to the press, I believe. Our job, Sergeant, is to see that no harm befalls Commander Markham until he completes his work.
How long will that be, ma'am? After all, you know, the hunting season's getting short now.
Oh, don't worry about that bit. I don't believe that we'll be needed for over a week at the most.
Unless, of course, someone killed him. In which case, it'd fall to you and Irene to investigate the case, Sergeant.
Well, no one's going to kill him if it's going to interfere with my vacation. I'll cover that guy like a swarm of bees.
And one of the swarm will probably sting him.
What do you mean by that, nosehound?
Just this, Sergeant. Markham has the queerest assortment of ducks around him that you ever saw.
Ducks, huh?
Figuratively speaking, Sergeant.
Oh.
They're really men, but they're the oddest assortment you ever saw.
Who are they, Jimmy?
I haven't been able to get the full story, Irene, but here's what I have. Commander Markham is a retired naval officer. He leased the old Turner estate near here. It's well out in the country and has a high wall around it to keep out prying eyes.
I bet it's a nice place.
Like a prison or a medieval castle.
Oh, stick to your story, Gifford.
Okay, Sergeant. Well, Markham set up his laboratory at this place. He called upon a fellow scientist by the name of Wallace to help him out in his work.
Oh, Dr. Edward Wallace?
Yes. Any dope on him?
Only that he and Markham split after about a month working together.
Right. Wallace took up residence in Trent, about 10 miles away, and started on his own hook. There's bad blood between them. Then there's Commander Markham's new assistant, a crippled guy by the name of Loeffler, Frederick Loeffler. He's a very brilliant scientist, but hopelessly crippled. And Markham hired about a dozen Negro guards, not one of them under 6'4".
Oh, minstrel show, huh? Well, who's trying to bump this Commander Markham off?
That's probably why you and Irene are here, Sergeant. I'm merely a spectator.
Good. As long as you remain a spectator, I'll have some peace. You know, you're a good guy, Gifford, but you're a punk detective.
Well, we can't all be brilliant.
No.
Hello? Oh, yes. Send him up.
Now what?
Our problem has arrived. Lieutenant Commander Markham is on his way up.
He's probably bringing us a sad tale about somebody putting ground glass in his suit.
I doubt it, Sergeant. The kind of men he's dealing with would sooner put dynamite in his beard.
Well, if you boys will receive the commander, I'll try to make myself a difference.
Yeah, all right. Hey, were you on the level about this dynamite business, Gifford?
I believe it's always been the custom among scientists and inventors, hasn't it?
Well, it probably is nipped. I'll see.
I have an appointment with Miss Irene Delroy.
Oh, you're Commander Markham?
Yes.
Come in, sir. Miss Delroy will be right out. I'm Sergeant Fitzgerald of the department.
Oh, yes, I've read about you. I'm exceptionally glad to meet you, Sergeant. From what I hear, you're the man of the hour in Washington.
Well, that's largely the doing of the press, sir. This is Mr. Gifford here.
Jimmy Gifford?
Yes, he worked on the case with us.
Glad to know you, Gifford.
Thank you, sir.
Ah, here she is now. Miss Delroy, Commander Markham.
How do you do?
An extreme pleasure, Miss Delroy, to meet such a talented and capable young woman.
Thank you, sir. Won't you sit down?
Certainly. I had a man posted at the airport to notify me the minute you arrived, and I came as soon as possible. I hope it's not inconvenient.
Not at all.
Miss Delroy, I'm about to make the most important scientific discovery of the age. The most important discovery since the invention of gunpowder. And someone is trying to keep me from doing it.
Oh, I understand.
That someone, whoever it is, knows my every move, shadows me wherever I go, and threatens my life at every turn. I'm a marked man, Miss Delroy, unless you and Sergeant Fitzgerald can bring about some measure of safety for me.
We'll do what we can.
Thank you. You want all the facts, of course, and I want to invite you to my home for dinner this evening and outline them to you at that time. Will that be convenient?
What was that?
Sounded like an explosion in the street.
Open the window, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there's a car down there on fire.
The car? Let me see, quick. That's my car, Miss Delroy. Evidently it was mined with some high explosive. There. That shows you what they'll do. They'll stop at nothing to take my life. That explosion was meant for me.
Now, for those of you with a stopwatch, you'll notice that was not 15 minutes, it was 12, because like everything else that Transcro provided, it was preceded by a minute and a half of instrumental music at the beginning and the same at the end. And this would enable the local stations to read the advertising for whatever sponsor they had picked up to pay for the program. This probably was not necessarily the first detective on radio, but close. Sherlock Holmes and Charlie Chan preceded her. She was certainly the first woman detective. After the Transco productions, she was in one more movie in 1934. It also was a flop, and she retired. Actually lived a relatively long life. Didn't die until 1985, at which time she was 84 and residing in upstate New York. And that's the end of Irene Delroy. And let me turn it back to our host.
Also, you can stop sharing. There we go. Perfect.
Enjoyed looking at your workshop, Jack.
Thank you. This is
Saw a
Rob.
voltage regulator in the background, so you're a serious hobbyist.
Oh, yes.
You're muted, Dennis. Dennis?
Here we go. Sorry about that. Well, I had to listen to the radio program, so. As always, following the first 15 minutes, we have our business meeting, and we start off with the treasurers and membership chairman report. But I don't think Joan Farrell's here. Joan, are you here? No? Well, she provided me with the information beforehand on the off chance she couldn't make it into attendance, so I will share it with you. We currently have no change in membership since our last meeting, still standing at 123 paid members. We've had, in the past month, we've had no incoming revenue or any expenses. So our balance remains strong at $7,457.05. And that is the Treasury report. Next up would be our print librarians, Mark and Masha. Anything to report? Oh, you're muted, Marcia.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Nothing to report.
The report. Okay. Very good. Next up would be the audio library. Do we have either of our audio librarians here? No?
Kathy McCare. Nothing to report.
Okay. Then up next would be our vice president. Jim, do you have anything to report?
News to report. Yes, coming up in May, Jack will be doing our program about the city of San Francisco in OTR. And in addition to providing us with the program next month, he has reached out to his extensive network of OTR subject matter experts, and he has obtained for us 2 more programs for July and for September also. So 1,000 thank you from me to Jack for lightening my load as a responsibilities as vice president and getting those programs for us. And needless to say, a check is in the mail from me to Jack with fully half my salary sent to him.
So did I hear you correctly, Jim, to say that you had programming for July and September?
Yeah, we got June, July, September. We're doing well.
Okay. Very good. So, just taking my notes. A club recorder here. Okay, now that wraps up the various reports. So next up would be old business. I'll start off with saying that back in October, it was announced that Martin Grams would be stepping down as the editor of our Radio Recall magazine. And he had the December issue all wrapped up, and he had most of February and part of April already prepared at the time of the announcement. And we've all just hopefully received our April issue of Radio Recall. I am happy to announce that we have a new editor for our magazine. His name is Larry Maupin, sorry. He is with us tonight. Unfortunately, he does not have a camera or microphone for his computer and is not joining us by phone, so he's only available through the chat function. He did send out a chat message, which I will read to you. And he says that from the editor column of the June issue of Radio Recall, I will invite all members to submit letters, OTR-related book reviews, and articles for the August issue. Also, to send me a paragraph on your favorite old-time radio episode for publication. If anybody wants to contact me in the meantime, my email address is lmaupin@columbus.rr.com. So I want to welcome Larry to being our new editor. He is no stranger to Radio Recall or the Gather Around the Radio e-newsletter. I believe he's submitted some articles for both. Mark or Martin, would you like to share anything concerning that?
Well, yes, I'll begin, if I may, with saying welcome, Larry. Your name is on the Zoom screen, and we welcome you to being the editor in the carry on the great tradition of Radio Recall. Larry, as I understand, joined the club about a year ago, and when Joni Farrell sends out the new member information, I always send an email to the new members requesting, welcoming them and requesting that they send in information, an essay, a profile to to me so I can put it in the GRTR. And Larry responded. So his that began a nice correspondence by email between myself and Larry. And his first essay in the GRTR was in May 2020, and it was called "A Noteworthy 19th Century Murder Case." And it was very well done, and he displayed lots of enthusiasm for that. And we continued to correspond. In his second essay that he sent me, I used parts of it in the November 2020 Gather Around the Radio. And his enthusiasm, of course, has continued. He's been in touch with Martin Grams, and Martin featured him in the page 1 story in a recent Radio Recall. So welcome, Larry. You're a very good writer, and you display lots of enthusiasm. From the get-go, you responded to my little welcome and sent me what got us started with an essay for GRTR. So I will turn it over to Martin, if you please. And Martin's been in contact with Larry along the way, including the article that Larry had published in Radio Recall. Dennis, can you is Martin on on mute or?
I'm not sure. I saw him here. Is he?
He was here earlier. I don't see him listed now.
No.
He may have lost contact or something.
He might be on screen too.
No, he's not on the list. You know, there's a master list. If you look at the thing that says participants, you get an entire list of who's there. And Martin is not on that list anymore. He was with us at the beginning. And sometimes if your internet connection is a little weak, it'll kick you out of the call, but maybe he'll sign on later.
Very good. Well,
I just saw Larry sent a chat message, and we all appreciate the way that he pitched in with his little chat message just now. So good on you, Larry.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure we're all looking forward to the June issue and your premiere issue. And yes, and again, welcome aboard as our new editor. So I don't have any other old business, so I guess we can move on to some new business. This one is a little distressing. This afternoon, I heard from Jack French informing me that one of the hobby's more dedicated, in fact, most dedicated historians and collectors, Jerry, sorry, it's drawing a blank here.
Hendiges.
Yeah, Hendiges. Yes, had a stroke yesterday. But the good news is, according to the various emails that went back and forth, is that he's already back home, and the doctors are expecting a full recovery. And right now he has problem typing, which seems to be the major thing that seems to be affecting him. But yes, it's I'm familiar with the name from his vintage Radiolog website. I believe Jack French is more familiar with him. Do you want to share anything, Jack, concerning him, or?
Yes, we were trying to get somebody from Spurback to.
I'm here, Jack. It's Walden. I'm here for you.
Okay, let me surrender to Walden, who knows him much better and has much more contact with him than I. Go ahead, Walden.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Jerry was one of the original 3 founders of Spurback back in 1974. The people who have dubbed transcriptions, he's probably done the most in the hobby. He's done it since the 60s. His personal collection of transcriptions is over 500,000. So really, a lot of the stuff that we've all enjoyed is thanks to a lot of Jerry's effort. He has 8 computers going full time, just dubbing disc. He's dubbing my collection, for example. He was home 3 days ago, had the stroke. They kept him in the hospital, but I'm home. So right now, he just doesn't have much. He's feeling in his right hand, so he won't be producing his weekly radio show and some other radio duties for a while until the doctors give him the A-OK. But his speech is good. Everything else is good. But it's just been a major help for the hobby since the mid-60s. So we're fortunate to have Jerry in good health. So back to you, Jack.
Thanks, Walden.
Very good. Yes, it's yeah, it definitely was distressing news when I got the email from Jack, but obviously it could have been much worse. So I'm sure everyone will wish Jerry is good health. And is there any other new business somebody wishes to share?
Oh, I just want to, it's Joni Leonard. I just want to ask Walden, because I came in late. Walden, did you say anything about the radio marathon that's going to be next weekend in the
No, I haven't. There's a radio marathon produced by Radio Out of Pass. 12 hours of different radio fans hosting 2 hours, and you can hear it on Yesterday USA Blue feed, and it's from noon Eastern to midnight on April the 17th. So that's something and it's live, there are prizes. It's a lot of fun, and it's hosted by a group called Radio Out of Pass, which has been around, I think, close to 15 years. And so we're going to broadcast it for them. But you go to radiooutofpass.org, you can sign up and enter the Zoom room and be eligible for prizes and things like that. So thank you, Joni.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.
Dennis, if I may.
Yes.
I'd like to add just one footnote to the little introduction that we had to Larry Maupin, another member, fairly new member, I think, who's tunes in on Zoom, and he's on the screen now. Charles Nyron joined the club in early, I think, 2020, and as well as Larry responding to my welcoming message to write something for GRTR, so did Charles. So Charles Nyron wrote a nice piece for GRTR, and that was in the November 2020 Gather Around the Radio, and he told us a little bit about his research and long time interest in old time radio. So thinking about our two publications and how pretty much the presses are open for future submissions, you know, so, send us some articles, you know, for our so we can keep the publications going. And thanks, Charles. That was very nice the way you responded.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that. And I'm not much of a writer. There was an article in the January edition of the Spurback magazine, which concerned the old time radio that I've been working on for about 20 years, which was called Meyer the Buyer. A lot of people in this room may have heard me talk about it. We finally found the Lucy Meyer the Buyer, and it was written in January, made the cover of the radiogram. And I appreciate your acknowledgement here.
Dennis?
Very good. Yes.
I wasn't here last month. Was there any motion to commend Martin for his efforts as editor of Radio Recall?
Last month? No, there had been no motion.
Could I make one now?
Certainly.
Yes, I move that the club go on record as commending Martin Grams for his production of a superior publication.
Second.
I'd like to. Oh,
go ahead,
I'd like to add just another note about the fine job that Martin has done. He writes a weekly blog spot, which I think he posts on Fridays, and I was looking through my archives of club publications, and in of particular interest is a commentary that Martin wrote in the August 2020 issue of Radio Recall. If you have that in your files, it's called Wisconsin Public Radio Drops Old Time Radio,
Oh, yeah.
which was pretty amazing because Wisconsin Public Radio sort of has been a trailblazer and leads the way. I used to listen to NPR Playhouse, which I think came out of Wisconsin and so on. And Martin just made a good, point about that. We have to be sensitive to the way things were over the years and in the writing, but and certainly that dropping a part of your programming can have an effect on listeners of all ages. So, and it's a very nice piece, as Martin always writes.
Thank you very much, Mark, for bringing that up. Anything else for new business? No? And then,
Did you want to follow through on the motion that has been seconded?
Thank you.
In other words, we vote.
Oh, okay. Very well. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion's carries. And
Thanks,
yes,
Wendy.
yeah, I'm not up on my parliamentary procedures, I admit. So, but yes, congrats, yeah, thank you, Martin, for a job well done. I know you're not online now, but thank you very much. If there's nothing else, then I guess it would be time for the quiz. Sally, are you ready for to present tonight's this month's quiz?
Am ready.
Oh.
As soon as I become host, give me the power. The power. I want the power. Okay, too much. Holding.
Wendy, now you mute.
Yeah, you've got it now. The thing
Okay, great.
sometimes jumps. So
Okay.
somehow Mike Ollinger became co-host, and that was not my intention, but you are co-host, Sally.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, if everybody would please mute themselves, I would certainly appreciate that while I launch the poll. Again, you may move faster than I will read on the poll on the screen. That is your prerogative. I will read every question and every answer 2 times. And then we will go over the answers following the program. So I'm stalling so that you should be getting your paper and pencil right now, everyone. This is children. Let's get our paper and pencils out so we can take the quiz. And no looking on other people's papers, please. Eyes on your own papers. It's been a long week, everybody. It's been a long week in the classroom. All right. Everybody have their paper and pencil. I am going to launch the poll. Feel free to answer on the screen. Oh, Wendy's ready. Oh, good job, Wendy. I love how Wendy has her paper and pencil out. Good job, Wendy. Okay. Here. Oh, no. Oh, look at Bert and Bev. Look at that. Everybody's ready to go. Look at, I love it. I love it. This group. All right, here we go. Launched. Give me a thumbs up, please. Can you see the quiz? All right, everybody. We have a very fun quiz this month. Jack always makes a fun quiz. This one is particularly interesting. It's all about furry friends of different types in old time radio. Hal. Number 1. Who was little orphan Annie's dog? A. Whitey. B. Sandy. C. Brownie. D. Blackie. Who was little orphan Annie's dog? A. Whitey. B. Sandy. C. Brownie. D. Blackie. Number 2. Some movie cowboys had famous horses, but only one of these steeds got his own radio program. Which horse was that? A. Tom Mix's Tony. B. Red Rider's Thunder. C. Hopalong Cassidy's Topper. D. Gene Autry's Champion. Some movie cowboys had famous horses, but only one of these steeds got his own radio program. Which horse was that? A. Tom Mixes Tony. B. Red Riders Thunder. C. Hopalong Cassidy's Topper. D. Gene Autry's Champion. Number 3. The heart. Excuse me. Take 2. Number 3. The Hartz Mountain Master Canaries musical radio show was sponsored by A. American Tobacco Company. B. Hartz Mountain Pet Food. C. Carter's Little Liver Pills. D. Aetna Life Insurance Company. The Hartz Mountain Master Canaries musical radio show was sponsored by A. American Tobacco Company. B. Hartz Mountain Pet Food. C. Carter's Little Liver Pills. D. Aetna Life Insurance Company. Number 4. Rin Tin Tin was a movie, TV, and radio star. As a puppy, this German Shepherd was rescued in an abandoned litter on a World War I French battlefield. Also rescued was Rin Tin Tin's female littermate, who was named A. Nanette. B. Dominique. C. Yvette. D. Gabrielle. Rin Tin Tin was a movie, TV, and radio star. As a puppy, this German Shepherd was rescued in an abandoned litter on a World War I French battlefield. Also rescued was Rin Tin Tin's female littermate, who was named A. Nanette. B. Dominique. C. Yvette. D. Gabrielle. Number 5. In Challenge of the Yukon, Sergeant Preston's primary companion was his Alaskan Husky. What was this canine's name? A. Yukon King. B. Yukon Queen. C. Yukon Duke. D. Yukon Princess. Come on, Yukon, answer it. Number 5. I can't resist a pun. In Challenge of the Yukon, Sergeant Preston's primary companion was his Alaskan Husky. What was this canine's name? A. Yukon King. B. Yukon Queen. C. Yukon Duke. D. Yukon Princess. Number 6. The voices of horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. were usually produced for the radio. How? A. Cued by their trainer, the animals made the required sounds. B. Random recordings were collected from the animals and then later selected as appropriate and replayed as part of the radio show. C. Talented men and women voiced virtually all of the animal sounds we heard on radio. D. Most dogs and cats at the microphone were cued by their trainers, while large animals like horses and untrainable animals like chickens were impersonated by men or women skilled in this art. Number 6. The voices of horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. were usually produced for radio. How? Jack, you're killing me. A. Cued by their trainer, the animals made the required sounds. B. Random recordings were collected from the animals and then later selected as appropriate and replayed as part of the radio show. C. Talented men and women voiced virtually all of the animal sounds we heard on radio. D. Most dogs and cats at the microphone were cued by their trainers, while large animals like horses and untrainable animals like chickens were impersonated by men or women skilled in this art. Number 7. On Renfrew of the Mounties, the opening wolf cry was voiced by a sound effects person with a very appropriate name. It was A. Brad Barker. B. Walter Woof Woof. C. Gertrude Growl. D. Brenda Bow Wow. On Renfrew of the Mounties, the opening wolf cry was voiced by a sound effects person with a very appropriate name. It was A. Brad Barker. B. Walter Woof Woof. C. Gertrude Growl. D. Brenda Bow Wow. Number 8. 3 radio heroes each rode a palomino. Roy Rogers, Straight Arrow, and Bobby Benson. What was the name of Bobby's palomino? A. Lightning. B. Amigo. C. Flash. D. Biscuit. Three radio heroes each rode a palomino. Roy Rogers, Straight Arrow, and Bobby Benson. What was the name of Bobby's palomino? A. Lightning. B. Amigo. C. Flash. D. Biscuit. Number 9. when animal impersonator Frank Milano was asked in one of his radio auditions if he could make the sound of a mosquito, he replied, A. Heck no, nobody can. B. Let me run it up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes. C. Do you want male or female? D. I don't know. What's a mosquito? When animal impersonator Frank Milano was asked in one of his radio auditions if he could make the sound of a mosquito, he replied, A. Heck no, nobody can. B. Let me run it up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes. C. Do you want male or female? D. I don't know. What's a mosquito? Number 10. Lassie was the star of radio, movies, and television. The original appearance of Lassie was in A. A short story in the December 1938 issue of Saturday Evening Post. B. A silent movie picture in 1931. C. A novel by Eric Knight published in 1940. D. A 1943 MGM film with Elizabeth Taylor. Lassie was the star of radio, movies, and television. The original appearance of Lassie was in A. A short story in the December 1938 issue of Saturday Evening Post. B. A silent motion picture in 1931. C. A novel by Eric Knight published in 1940. D. A 1943 MGM film with Elizabeth Taylor. That concludes the quiz. Hold on to your answers and we'll go over them after the main program. I'll leave the poll going in case anyone else wants to enter their answers into the online poll, but I'm going to just minimize it in my screen.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sally. Looking forward to seeing what the answers are. But as you said, we'll do that after our main presentation, which it's now time for. And tonight's presentation is being presented by our club member, Frank Morgan. You may recall back in January, he did another presentation for us where he focused on two radio actresses, Peggy Weber and Virginia Gregg. Tonight, I believe his topic will be on police procedurals. Take it away, Frank.
Best on mute to get started. And, let me see here. All right. I'm opening the PowerPoint now. I've got to, here we go. Let's see if, what we've got. Yes, okay. There we go. Does everybody have it now? Yes? No? No?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. All right. The Police Procedural on Old Time Radio. The first question I had was exactly what is Police Procedural? I thought I knew, but I found the definition in Merriam-Webster. And if I get this right, you'll see that. Come on now. Okay. There we go. Merriam-Webster defined police procedural as a police procedural is a mystery written from the point of view of the police investigating the crime. Now that term was added to the dictionary in 1963, but the concept had existed in old time radio for a lot longer than that. And while Dragnet is probably the most celebrated and best recognized of the radio, old time radio police procedurals, there were others that were older, longer lasting on radio, and Dragnet was not the last. The two earliest shows that I found debuted in 1932. In December 1932, the 15-minute program Police Reporter aired, mostly in the Southwest, even though it was produced in New York. And there are actually still 26 shows that are available. And although the term was police reporter, the story is told through the eyes of the police officer, which makes it then fall into the definition of a police procedural. The series used actual names, dates, and locations, and all of the stories were based on true events, quote, taken from newspapers and court cases from all over the world, end of quote. And for those of you who are familiar with the 1950s program Crime Classics, that quote may sound rather familiar. The series opened with a case from London in 1957, but the story that I liked best was actually the last one, which occurred in 1931. And it was the story of the prison inmate who built the electric chair, the first electric chair in Ohio. In the wood shop, he built it while he was an inmate. Then while he was on parole, he committed a murder, and he became the first person to be electrocuted in the electric chair that he built. And it's a true story. Here's an opening from the show, Police Reporter, regarding the murder of Tom Gorman.
The Police Reporter. Police Reporter is about to tell you another true mystery story. It's the old story of Cain and Abel in the setting of western ranches and cattle towns. Once more we offer the Police Reporter. In March 1903, a man and woman walked into the office of Dudley Hale, sheriff of Bighorn County, Wyoming. We discover them talking to the sheriff. They are Jimmy Gorman and his brother's wife, Bessie.
Well, Mrs. Gorman, I'm glad to see you. What seems to be the trouble?
It's Tom, Sheriff.
Tom, what about him?
The brother's disappeared. We ain't seen hide nor hair of him in 3 weeks.
You don't say. Well, why didn't you report this sooner, Mrs. Gorman?
My husband didn't just disappear. He went off on a business trip, and I haven't heard from him.
And you're afraid something's happened to him?
Yes. He never did a thing like that before.
He had over $700 in his money belt.
And not having heard from him, you think he might have been robbed and killed. Is that it?
Well, I'm afraid something's happened to him.
We heard this morning that you picked up a man's body in Bighorn River, so we came in to take a look at it.
Well, I don't think it's Tom. I'd feel better if I saw him.
Well, I'll take you in to look at him, Mrs. Gorman, but it'll be hard to identify. He's in bad shape.
You mean you can't tell who he is?
Not by his face.
We can tell by his clothes and his jewelry if it's Tom.
Well, if you want to chance it, come on. He's in this back room. Right in here, folks.
I hate to put you to this trouble, Sheriff, but I've got to know.
Yeah, she had to know because, spoiler alert, she and her brother-in-law killed her husband so that they could continue their romance. Now here's the closing of Police Reporter.
You have just heard another true story of a crime as told by the police reporter. He'll be glad to dramatize any story you want to hear if you'll write to him in care of this station. Listen for the police reporter. This is a radio release production.
The next one up, 1932, was called Police Headquarters. And this was a Bruce Ells and Associates production, and Bruce Ells did a number of early radio syndications. It was done on the West Coast for NBC radio stations, and there were 39 episodes that were produced, and 38 have survived. And I was surprised both as to Police Reporter and Police Headquarters. There was nothing in John Dunning's book, the Encyclopedia of Old Time Radio, which kind of surprised me because of the fact that these programs are there. As with Police Reporter, the stories were based on actual cases, and generally an episode would begin with a citizen phoning in to report a crime, and then using the relatively new technology of the two-way radio, information was sent to patrol officers in an attempt to locate and arrest the subject. But the clip I'm going to play was from one of the not typical episodes. The police chief and another officer have gone to a boxing match. The winning fighter has been found dead in the shower of the gym, and the chief has gone to investigate. The fight doctor has said the death was due to heart failure. As you will hear, the chief will tell you his theory and what he is going to do to solve the case and bring the killer to justice. I'm going to start the second part now, but if you call me on my cell phone, that's the ringtone. I like that music, and I can hear it when it rings.
Well, first shot was a dud, Doctor, but we have two more bailers, Manny Morris and Curran.
I think I see what... Sir, you got a lot of nerve. What screwy idea you up to now? If you think for a minute...
Shut up, Manny. Shut up. Get under that shower.
I'm not going. I got someone.
So are we. Put him under there, Joe.
Yeah, come on. Get under that shower.
There. Now, put his hand up on that shower valve.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't.
So you're the one. You shove in the gamble ring. He had it all figured out that if McCoy didn't dive tonight, you'd kill him and collect his insurance. We've got you dead to rights, Manny. Take him out, Joe. May I ask a question? Oh, sure, Doctor, shoot. What does the shower have to do with it? Everything. That new zinc drain on the floor of the shower was McCoy's death knell. Morris knew it, and that's why he didn't dare go into the shower. You mean? I mean that Morris had connected the power wires that feed this building to the metal base of the shower and the shower valve. After the fight, he went below and threw the switch. McCoy was electrocuted.
And that was police headquarters. And like Jack mentioned, these shows were actually like 12 minutes long, and there was the commercial at the beginning and the commercial at the end. And both police reporter and police headquarters were 15-minute shows, as is the next one called Calling All Cars. Now this was sponsored by the Rio Grande Oil Company. It was a division of Sinclair Oil, and it was broadcast by CBS on the West Coast, but only in the areas where Rio Grande gasoline was sold. It too was based on true events, and the show was an early effort by writer-director William N. Robeson. And of course, you'll know Robeson better for his efforts on Suspense and Escape later on. And it ran for almost 6 years, and there are almost 300 shows of Calling All Cars still in circulation. And here's an excerpt from the episode called Murder of the Girl in Room 9.
A copyrighted program transcribed and dedicated to the prevention of crime. Calling all cars, attention all cars, broadcast 168. Investigator reported robbery at service station, corner of 3rd and B Streets. Get out there right away. That is all. Gordon.
I like this music too, and this was, of course, where in some of the episodes you get to hear the announcer doing the Rio Grande oil commercial. I think we can skip that and go to the next part of it, but wanted to mention too that the episodes were actually introduced for the most part by real officers of the Los Angeles Police Department, and the police dispatcher, Sergeant Jesse Rehnquist, he's the one that was heard delivering the message, calling all cars.
Well, I don't know, Jerry. Except so I don't know when to believe you and when not to. However, I've got an idea. If I can promote it, we'll see how much truth there is in your story.
What do you mean?
Simply that I'm going to get in touch with Inspector Pigeon of Berkeley and ask him a favor. If he falls in with the idea, you're going to have a chance to try lying to the lie detector. I'm anxious to see how it comes out. Step on it, Maloney. And a few days later, in Inspector Pigeon's office at Berkeley, Jerry Sells, the laughing killer, sits before a strangely constructed machine. Around his arm is a blood pressure winding. In front of him are numerous instruments for indicating changes of heartbeat, quickened pulse. Quietly, Inspector Pigeon asks the questions, watches his apparatus as it responds, false or true.
Now, Sells, I want you to repeat what I say.
Okay, Inspector, shoot the works.
I want you to say, I did not kill Mrs. Rice.
But I did.
That's all right. You repeat what I said.
Okay, I did not kill Mrs. Rice.
Now, I'm going to ask you to notice that instrument hand in front of you, Sheriff. It has registered an uneven line during Sells' last statement. That indicates an increased heartbeat, or, to our way of figuring, a lie. Now, Sells, will you tell us what you did to Baron Ritz?
Sure, I killed him. Hit him with a gun and tied him up with baling wire.
You notice the line, Sheriff? I do. It's wiggling all over the place. Naturally, the lie detector cannot be used as direct evidence. Its testimony is not acceptable in a court. But as far as we can go, the detector is telling us that this man is lying, right?
Okay. Now, the longest running of the police procedurals was Gangbusters. It was originally broadcast under the title G-Men in July of 1935, and then it changed its name to Gangbusters in 1936 and continued on the air until 1957. And this producer was Phillips H. Lord, and Lord enjoyed producing programs in the crime genre. Now, just in case you're dozed off listening to me so far, or in case you were falling asleep when Gangbusters was coming on, its opening brought you back to life.
Now in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States, the only national program that brings you authentic police case history. Gangbusters.
Tonight, the case of the triple threat bandits, whose leader used a broom as the principal cover in his sunless disguise, but learned even that was unable to hide his soiled record.
And now to Gangbusters and facts that show the operation of our law enforcement officials in their war against the underworld. Gangbusters has asked Inspector of Detectives Eugene Bernath, Police Department, Minneapolis, Minnesota, to narrate by proxy tonight's case.
The inside facts in the case of the triple threat bandits.
Inspector Bernath, I understand the gang in tonight's case thought that a clever sort of disguise would provide them plenty of protection.
That's right, Don Gardner. But they were to learn that fast communication systems and efficient exchange of police information, plus cooperation from federal law enforcement agencies, is making long-range criminal operation less and less successful.
Well, suppose you tell us about tonight's case, Inspector Bernath.
All right, Don.
All right, well, as you heard, Gangbusters called itself the only national program that brings you authentic police case histories. The other three that I've mentioned to you before this were not national programs, so that's why Gangbusters took the liberty to say that they were the only one to be a national program. Lords had hoped to benefit from the success of James Cagney's film G-Men, and he worked in close association with FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, although Hoover was not especially in favor of the idea of the program. Hoover insisted that only closed cases be used and that each script had to be reviewed and approved before broadcast. Hoover wanted to downplay gunfights and car chases and to emphasize the investigation and legwork aspects of his agent's work. So as Hoover made things more and more difficult for Lord found that he could just as well dramatize cases of local law enforcement agencies from all over the United States. As you heard in that piece there, was from Minnesota. And those agencies were happy to cooperate and have their successes told. Unlike its predecessors, Gangbusters would on occasion cast some of radio's stalwarts in leading roles, including Richard Widmark, Art Carney, Frank Lovejoy, Lovejoy's wife Joan Banks, Larry Haynes, and Leon Janney. Good one. Phillips Lord, in addition to Gangbusters and others, is best known for Mr. District Attorney, which ran for a long time, and Counterspy or David Harding Counterspy, although he did have others. And then here's a picture of the sound effects men getting ready to fire the shots while the rest of them are standing there at the mic. I thought that was interesting. Next up is This Is Your FBI, and that was aired on ABC from April of 1945 to January of 1953. The producer director of the program was Jerry Devine, and he was given access to FBI files for source material by the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover himself. Hoover gave his endorsement to the program, calling it, quote, the finest dramatic program on the air, close quote. The early episodes featured the voice of Frank Lovejoy as the narrator, but the best remembered episodes featured Stacey Harris, who's pictured there, as fictional FBI agent Jim Taylor. Lovejoy was replaced as narrator by William Woodson. And generally it was the narrator and Agent Taylor who explained the investigative steps leading to the arrest of the miscreant.
This is your FBI. This is your FBI, the official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Tonight, the subject of our FBI file, allotment swindle. It's titled The Traveling Bride.
The basic purpose in bringing you this series of official broadcasts from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation is to acquaint you, the honest citizen, with the criminal. It is imperative that you know as much about the criminal as possible, because only one person can eliminate crime from the face of America. That person is you. Ask the average businessman about conditions in his particular field. He will tell you about the latest trends, the outlook for the future, and the competition he faces. Ask the average person, be that person man or woman, about crime in the community, and you will most likely be answered with a shrug of the shoulder or a blank look. Yet everyone, no matter what his or her business, should have the facts of crime at his fingertips. For crime is a part of our everyday life, as close to every American home as dust in a rug. Tonight's FBI file opens at an amusement park in a large West Coast city.
And as you mentioned, the story was about swindles of women who were marrying servicemen so that they could get their allotments. Now, I think this is brings us toward the end of the show.
An investigation is almost like a jigsaw puzzle, but here the pieces are not spread on a table waiting to be picked up. FBI headquarters 3,000 miles away in Washington, D.C. was busy on this case. All allowance checks mailed to Nora Young under her various aliases were obtained and examined. The endorsement handwriting matched perfectly. Now there was no question that an allowance swindle was in progress, but one piece of the picture was still missing, the piece showing where Nora Young was now.
Sheriff Austin. Jim Taylor, Sheriff. I've got the name of Nora Young's friend. It's Gladys Harding.
Where'd you dig that up?
At the burlesque house. She worked there as a chorus girl with Nora. They quit to do an act together. Pardon me, Sheriff. You want me, Tommy?
Telepathy, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, thanks. Sheriff, hold on a second, will you?
Okay.
This wire just came in from Washington. Wait a minute, I'll read it to you. Identification made of suspect described your wire, named Gladys Harding.
Good.
As record for defrauding government in connection with servicemen's dependents' allowance checks. Her complete files being teletyped. Well, Sheriff, the minute it gets here, I'll come over and see you.
Okay, as you can see how these all fit the definition. There was Stacey Harris and the other actor telling you exactly what they were doing or how the investigation was proceeding. Next up is actually my favorite of all the police procedurals. Broadway Is My Beat. It debuted in 1949 and ran until August of 1954 on CBS. Its first 3 months were done in New York, and then it moved to Hollywood. And once it was in Hollywood, Elliott Lewis took his first shot at directing. And as most of you know, Elliott Lewis was already successful as a writer, producer, and multifaceted actor. And unlike the other police procedurals up till now, Broadway Is My Beat was not based on actual cases. Lewis hired the experienced writing team of Morton Fine and David Friedkin to produce scripts for the show. And they created scripts that I feel have a tapestry and color and texture that weren't found in the other police procedurals, but that's because they didn't have to base them on actual facts. Elliott Lewis also used far more music than other police procedurals. In the clips that I will play, you'll hear that at points there's music under Larry Thor's dialogue, and the musical director was Alexander Courage, who went on to create the theme music from the now cult classic TV show Star Trek. The police narrator is Police Detective Danny Clover. In California, he was played by Larry Thor, Canadian actor. Because the series was not based on real cases, as I said, Fine and Friedkin were able to introduce a bit of low comedy in the form of an office civil servant, Sergeant Gino Tartaglia. He was played by Charles Calvert. And Clover's cohort for the police work was Detective Muggervan, who was played by veteran actor Jack Kruschen.
Broadway's My Beat, from Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world.
Broadway's My Beat, the thrilling drama of murder and mystery and the people who walk the Great White Way, starring Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover.
In the morning, a kind of silence touches Broadway. The color has been squeezed from it, drained, spent by the wanton night. The neon is still, the spectacular sleep. The scavengers walk soft, scrubbed furtively in the refuse of the night. And if you listen close, you can hear the wind. And it's the same wind that purrs through ruins. At headquarters, you welcome Broadway's silence, but you know it'll splinter in your face. And it does. Its shape is a slip of paper tossed carelessly on your desk. On it are written the words, Homicide, Olympian Hotel, room 312. And Broadway is awake now. It's starting a new day. At the Olympian Hotel, you walk down a corridor that's been painted in a color that won't offend anybody. Then a door opens to you, and a voice designed not to frighten you welcomes you into a room lately furnished with death.
As I said, you can hear the music underlying Larry's monologue, and it's almost poetry, the language of Friedkin and Fine and Friedkin, as you're going to hear more. This is coming in from the commercial break.
Broadway is wide enough for everybody. Generals in open touring cars, blondes in taxis, and sailors against lampposts. It's the place to come to, for one reason or another. To be a tourist, or get stared at by the tourists. To make a pitch, buy a bargain, get cheated, insulted, or have your picture taken. And end the day with a memory, depending upon what you wanted, what you got, what you gave for it. And part of the day's memento of Broadway will be the news item. Nicky Gannon shot down in an alley. Hoodlums slain in new outbreak of mob violence. Police seek clues in killing. Especially me. And another man. Sergeant Gino Tartaglia, who had once passed a civil service examination.
And the medical examiner, Dr. Sinsky, reveals that death was caused by hemorrhage in the pleura, parentheses, lungs, close parentheses. And that is why Nicky Gannon was done in.
Thanks, Gino.
Oh, you're quite welcome, I'm sure.
Anything else?
May I?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. You know, Danny, this shooting up an alley brings to mind a case which was solved by Lady Jane Pugh, the ne'er-do-well girl detective from London town.
Do we have to, Gino?
Lady Jane looked at the deceased and flipped her shiny tuppence.
Flipped her what?
Her shiny tuppence. Lady Jane has a lucky tuppence which she flips before she undertakes a case. That Lady Jane.
May I interrupt?
Oh, you're the boss.
Do you have anything else to tell me about Georgia Gray or Nicky Gannon, please?
Oh, indeed I do, Danny, indeed I do. In the murder of Nicky Gannon, Tommy Chandler, our prime suspect, has been released, and without a nickel's worth of bail.
What?
I have said it.
So help me if you're kidding, Gino. Why was he released?
Oh, because another fellow has confessed to the deed.
That was Charles Calvert as Tartaglia. Now, in the show's opening monologue, the monologue that opened the second half of the episode, and coming up in the closing monologue, Fine and Friedkin did what radio did best, in my eyes. They used Clover's words to paint a picture for the mind and to set the tone for what was to come or what had passed in the episode. Here's a picture of Jack Crucian, who is Muggerman, and on the right is Charles Calvert.
It's the gathering place of all the sleepless nights, this Broadway, and all the unwept tears. The place to come to, erase what's happened, start all over, make a memory, and try to forget it, if you can. It's Broadway, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Broadway, my beat.
Just a side note, I don't know if you could hear each time when the monologue would start, there would be traffic sounds. Well, Elliot Lewis was such a perfectionist that he didn't like the sound track that they had in California. He sent a crew to New York to record actual sounds of traffic in New York. So that's what you heard there. Next up came Dragnet. And Dragnet was really the radio jewel of NBC Radio from June of 1949 through February of 1957. It was the brainchild of Jack Webb, who was a veteran at the time of radio series Pat Novak for Hire, Johnny Madeira, Pier 46, and Jeff Reagan, Private Investigator. Webb was acting in the movie He Walked by Night when he became friendly with an LA police sergeant named Marty Wynn, who was working as a technical advisor on the film. Wynn was recognized by Webb in the closing credits of each Dragnet show. Dragnet was well known for its theme, Danger Ahead, and the bumper music composed by Walter Schumann. And although you could only hum the first four notes, and I don't think you could dance very well to it, the theme from Dragnet rose to number 3 on the pop charts. And here's a recording that runs a couple of minutes of the theme from Dragnet, full thing. There it is, boys and girls. Number 3 this week on your pop chart. Webb enjoyed use of a stock cast of veteran actors. His initial partner was played by Barton Yarborough, that you can see there. But Yarborough suddenly died about 2 years into the show. His best known radio partner thereafter was Ben Alexander, who was also a radio veteran. Peggy Weber, who you can see there, and Virginia Gregg were the featured female players. And Raymond Burr, Stacey Harris, Harry Bartell, Junius Matthews, Barney Phillips, and Sam Edwards were featured male players. Dragnet was sponsored on and off by cigarette manufacturers and Chesterfield and Fatima. And it's in the opening. All right. Sorry about that one. It looks like that one punked out on me. Webb wanted Dragnet to express the realism of a police officer's work. He learned cop speak language by attending the police academy. He used the names of real police supervisors within the LA Police Department. He was this real stickler for details, even such minor details as using the exact number of footsteps between offices or climbing the stairs in the police building where his character, Sergeant Joe Friday, was walking between them. He used up to 300 sound effects on a show.
Come on, Lane. You know something, cop? I think I played the part better than you do. Now, let me tell you something, mister, and I want you to remember it. As a con man, you're a front. You wouldn't know a mark if you came up and hit you in the mouth. Besides being bad at that, you're a liar, the worst kind of liar. You go around telling people you're a cop, you flash a tin badge, and right off you're the law. I've been in this business a long time. I've seen a lot of 510s come across the desk. Punks like you take old women, cheap crumbs with a handkerchief switch in the smack game, but at least they don't try to hide behind a phony badge. We don't know how many people you pulled this cheap deal on, but we're going to find out. We'll get every name there is, and we'll make you on all of them. I live in this town, I work here, and I like it. There are 4,000 other men in the city who feel the same way. Men who are trying to prove that the law's here to protect people, not to cut them down. They spend every day of the year running up a good score, and you come along and tilt it. Every one of those people you hit thinks he's been taken by a cop. The cop whose hand was reaching for money that wasn't his. Yeah, you keep wearing that grin, Lane. See if you can still make it when we turn the key on you. Now let's go.
Now that episode was about people who were being shaken down by would-be or phony police officers, and unfortunately the first part of that was the one that wouldn't play. Webb was only in his early 60s when he passed away of a heart attack, And the Los Angeles Police Department honored him by flying its flag at half-staff and retired badge 714, the badge number associated with Webb. The lineup was another of CBS offerings, and it was to be designed to be in the trend the Dragnet set for realism. The opening episodes were again the product of Elliot Lewis with the work of Morton Fine and David Friedkin as writers, but they were followed shortly by Jaime Del Valle, who was married to Virginia Gregg, and scriptwriter Blake Edwards. The scripts were generally based on facts of real cases, but interspersed with fiction. Each episode opened and ended with the bringing of bringing listeners behind the scenes to a lineup held at police headquarters. Veteran actor and one of the finest and identifiable voices of old-time radio, Bill Johnstone played the lead, and Wally Mayer played the sergeant you'll hear calling the lineup.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take you now behind the scenes of the police headquarters in a great American city, where under the cold, glaring lights will pass before us the innocent, the vagrant, the thief, the murderer. This is the lineup.
Sit right here, Mrs. Denny, next to me.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant.
Now, don't be nervous. The people on the other side of the screen are the ones who are supposed to be nervous.
They can't see us on this side?
Not a thing.
That's for sure now.
No one in the lineup can see you.
Maybe the man you've caught isn't the one I saw running away from the holdup.
We hope he is.
May I have your attention, please? You people out there on the other side of the wire in the audience room, may I have your attention, please? Thank you. My name is Greb, Sergeant Nat Greb. I'll explain the lineup to you. Each of the suspects you will see will be numbered. I'll call out a number, their name and charge. If you have any questions or identifications, please remember the number assigned to the prisoner as I call his name. At the end of the line, when I ask for questions or identifications, call out the number. If you're sure or not too sure of the suspect, have him held. The officers who took your name will assist you. They're seated among you. Please be prompt with your questions or identifications. When the prisoners leave here, they are sent to the washroom and dressed back into their jail clothes. It makes it quite difficult to bring them back after they leave here. The questions I ask these suspects are merely to get a natural tone of voice, so do not pay too much attention to their answers as they often lie. Hang on the line. All right, this way, boys. Move it up to the end of the stage. That's it. Keep it moving. Move it. All right, now turn it face front, hands to your sides, look straight ahead. Ahead, inch, not at your feet. Number 4, Willard, or Will Willard. Hold up, suspect. Disorderly conduct, assaulting an officer, resisting arrest. Well, where do you work, Will?
Hill and Ninth, car park.
Quite a celebration in your hotel last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was somebody's birthday.
The landlady said some shooting was going on.
Oh, just a noisy party. Nobody got hurt.
Why did you try to beat up the patrolman who arrested?
Sergeant Graham.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Number 4, hold for interrogation.
Oh, I don't know if you recognized it, but that was Peggy Weber, who was the woman sitting with Bill Johnstone. Next up was what John Dunning called a police procedural with a Western influence, and it's Tales of the Texas Ranger. And Joel McCrea was selected to voice the fictional Ranger Jace Pearson. McCrea was a veteran of movies. Many of them were Westerns, so he sounds really comfortable in the role. The scripts were based on real cases of the Texas Rangers from the years 1928 to 1948. And the technical advisor for the show was a legendary former Ranger, Captain M.T. Lone Wolf Gonzalez. And while Ranger Pearson often had to go on horseback to pursue his prey the old-fashioned way, he used current scientific techniques to identify them. Tales of the Texas Ranger stayed on the air until September of 1952.
Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McRae as Ranger Jace Pearson. Another authentic reenactment of a case transcribed from the files of the Texas Rangers.
Joel McRae had done a lot of movies. As I say, he did a lot of Westerns, but he also did comedies, and he had quite a range of experience as an actor.
Investigating the scene of the alleged shooting, Sheriff requested assistance from Texas Rangers. Ranger James Pearson was assigned and arrived at the lake just after dawn. Sheriff led him toward a spot at the edge of the water.
What I wanted to show you is over here, Chase. First half thought them two old fellas must have been hearing things, though. Are you still around, Sheriff? Over there with the crowd. Funny how excitement draws people, like bees around a jam jar. You want to talk to George and Oak? Yeah, in a few minutes. There you are. When I found this, I was pretty sure there really was a shooting here. Yeah. It was all right. George and all, I think it was a girl that was shot. Why? The man yelling for her to come back, and then there was 3-4 shots. You figure she could have got up and crawled away after she was hit? Yeah, that's not likely. Tracks indicate she was dragged, probably back to the car. The two men witnesses recognize either of the people? No, it was too dark. Only thing they remembered was a car, a black 4-door sedan. Well, I reckon we just have to wait for a missing persons report. If the girl really was killed, what's the matter? Want to hand me that brand, Sheriff? I think I see something in the water. Sure. Yeah, thanks. Can you make out what it is? I think it's... Yeah. It is. A woman's hand. Shoulder strap's broken. That could have happened when she fell. Lipstick. Compact. Driver's license. Water didn't smear the type too much, did it? No. Name's Lucy Regan. Lucy Regan. Boy, that's a kindergarten teacher here in town. A real sweet kid. Nobody'd want to hurt a girl like that. We're not sure it's the girl who was hurt. Let's go find out. To Lucy Regan's rooming house. She wasn't there. Her landlady said she'd left at 7 the night before and had not returned. She was fairly sure Lucy'd been out with Ken Bowman, a young cowhand from a nearby ranch. Sheriff and I went out to the ranch, arriving there about 10 that morning. We learned that Bowman was with a crew setting up new fence posts about 4 miles from the ranch house. We took horses and started looking for him.
All right, that's Tales of the Texas Rangers. In the summer of 1951, ABC needed a replacement for the series Inner Sanctum, and it offered the police procedural The Man from Homicide. Now, this show is the love child of radio scriptwriter Louis Vitas and his desire to bring realistic police detective to radio. And most of you may recall that Mr. Vitas' son made a presentation to us a few years ago. And I remember Mr. Vitas best for his scripts that he wrote for Vincent Price, for the Vincent Price-led episodes of The Saint, but he also wrote for such other detective shows as Nero Wolfe and Mr. and Mrs. North. Now, the initial episode of The Man from Homicide featured film actor Charles McGraw as the lead character, Louis Dana, but he was unavailable after the first episode, and he was replaced by veteran actor Dan Duryea as Detective Dana. And the cast from the show included many of Hollywood's best-known radio actors at the time, starting with Larry Dobkin, who played Lieutenant Dana's chief aide, Sergeant David Metzger. And there were many other veteran radio performers who appeared on the show, some with extensive experience in police dramas and detective shows, such as Jim Backus, Joan Banks, Lamont Johnson, Arthur Q. Bryan, Gene Bates, Barney Phillips, Joan Blondell, Ralph Moody, Herb Butterfield, Jay Novello, and Tony Barrett. Actually, Phillips, Moody, Butterfield, and Barrett were at the same time being heard regularly on Dragnet. And despite favorable reviews and listener support, the show ended in September of 1951 after just 14 episodes. But this next clip will give you a taste of the show.
The Man from Homicide. According to Webster's dictionary, homicide is the killing of one human being by another. According to Lieutenant Lou Dana,
it's the beginning of a dirty, dangerous job that doesn't end until the killer is found. I don't like killers.
This time, the American Broadcasting Company brings you transcribed the star of stage and screen, Dan Duryea, as Lieutenant Lou Dana, the Man from Homicide.
You can get used to the dead. It takes time, but you can do it. You can get used to the men who've given up their lives suddenly to a knife, a piece of lead pipe, or a gun, or a broken bottle. In time, you can get used to all of that. But when the dead are very young, when you look down the beam of a police flashlight to see the death pallor spreading over cheeks that still wear a youthful fuzz, no, you never get used to that. They find him like this, Dave?
Yeah, just like this, Lieutenant. Bum came up the alley looking for a place to flop, I guess. Saw him there. Must have been right after the kid got it. Excuse me a minute, Lieutenant.
Right after the kid got it. Yes. The blood hadn't clotted yet. The large pool it made looked purple under my light. They bleed out fast when the throat is slashed.
Picture boys are here, Lieutenant.
In a minute, Dave.
Yeah.
Notice his arm?
No.
Oh, right here. Look.
Yeah.
What would you give him? 17?
17, 18.
Peddlers start him young these days. Makes for more business later on.
17, 18.
Well, he got the man off his back. The hard way.
Anything on him?
Oh, see. I don't think so. No. Here's his wallet, though. Nobody cut his throat just for money.
Dough in it?
Couple of bucks. No Social Security. Here's his draft card. Hold the light a minute.
Oh, sure.
Donald M. Shellbarger, 1264 Martin. Well, guess I better go talk to his family.
Yeah, nice job. Lieutenant?
Yeah?
How did he stand in the draft?
I didn't look. Yeah. 4F.
Next up was a program called 21st Precinct. It was introduced by CBS shortly after the lineup ended, and it ran from July of 1953 to July of 1956. And the police narrator was Captain Frank Kennelly. And in the 4 seasons that it was on the air, there were 3 different actors who played Kennelly: Everett Sloan, James Gregory, and Les Dawson. The activities of the activities were of the actual 21st Precinct of New York City, and the scripts were based on actual cases from the district. An episode usually began with a phone call to the precinct, followed by the investigation until the final report was written. This is the actual 21st Precinct building at the time.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Collins. What do you mean he's missing?
And so it goes, around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring, or the brass ring can catch anyone. 21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York.
And from there, their crime would be committed, and they would follow up through, as I said, till the final report was written. And by now, you're probably ready for me to wrap things up. And this is the last one. This was a show called Night Watch. And in some respects, it's the truest of police procedurals in old-time radio, because radio veteran Don Reed actually was riding with members of the Culver City, California Police Department as they performed their jobs. I kind of look at Night Watch as being a forerunner of TV shows like Cops. Reed sought and received permission to record while in the police car, and he was narrating in a low voice while he was recording. Taking the material he gathered while out with the police, Reed would later recreate in the studio the gun battles, vehicle chases, and arrests he had witnessed. He opened each show by noting his arrival at the police station to begin the night watch. And you'll hear it. It sounds a little strange because all of a sudden he just starts talking. There's no introduction, no music or anything like that. Just takes you right into what he's doing.
It's just a couple of minutes after 6 p.m. and we're just leaving the police station to start the night watch. Sergeant Perkins has stopped over here in the hall to talk with a little boy that evidently is lost. Let's check it out.
Want you to walk home from here? How long did you live down here?
We just moved a couple weeks ago.
That's a long ways out. Tell you what, supposing you come with us and we'll take you home.
Okay.
Okay? Why did you come to the police station for? Did he tell you anything?
I didn't. My dad said if I get lost, just ask somebody where I live and give them that note.
So you came on here, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, you come with us, we'll take you home.
Okay.
You look at this?
Out the door. By the way, my name is Don Reed, a police recorder. You're going to ride with Detective Unit 5-6 tonight. I'll get you back with him, okay, sir?
Yeah, okay, Don.
As you ride with us, remember the people you hear are not actors. This is it. This is real. This is Night Watch.
5-6 to 1, reporting in service. Starting mileage 6752, 6752. 641 p.m. and 8394, starting night watch.
Night Watch, the actual on-the-scene report of your police force in action. There are no actors. There is no script. Every voice, every sound is authentic. The investigations are recorded as they actually occur. Night Watch, presented with the cooperation of the Police Department of Culver City, California, W.N. Hildebrand, Chief.
Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the police procedural going from 1932 through 1950s. And for any of you who weren't familiar with some of the programs that I talked about tonight and would like to hear them, and some of them, like I really like Calling All Cars and Police Headquarters. There are full episodes and sometimes the whole series that are available free online. So that's it for tonight. Thank you. Now I'll try and get out of this so we get back to stop share. There we go. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well done, Frank.
A little bit long, but you know.
Great job, Frank. Great job.
That was awesome. Really
Yes, it was.
interesting.
That was
Really fun. Really great stuff.
wonderful.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. It was really good.
Glad you enjoyed it, Joni.
Thank you.
Good. So unless we have any questions for Frank, I think it's time to hear the answers to tonight's quiz.
Okay. All right. Jack, I think you're trying to test my powers of remaining stoic, not only by the level of humor you're including. I mean, I couldn't keep it together. I mean, I was like, I'm just gonna, snort soon if I couldn't control it. It was so good. But some of these answers are really long. It's hard to be Hal in multiple sentences here. So, all right. Oh, let's see. The poll should still be running. Yep. Okay. So this is your last 10 seconds to submit in the poll if you'd like. Otherwise, pull out your answer sheets, class, so that we can go over the answers to the quiz.
I did.
And see who was participating and who did their work today in class. Excellent. I see everyone's ready. Here we go. Number 1, who was little orphan Annie's dog? I really hope many of us remember this from our recreation. Looks
Sally,
like...
did you want to put up the results?
Oh,
of the
yeah,
poll?
sorry. And share. There we go. Can you see it? Thumbs up.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thumbs up. Okay, great. As I was saying, no pressure, but I hope everybody remembers the answer to this. Whoops, I'm on the wrong. I printed on 2 sheets.
Oh, wait a minute.
Looks like most of us did remember that the correct answer was B, Sandy. Sandy is little orphan Annie's dog. Very good. All right. Number 2. Some movie cowboys had famous horses, but only one got their own radio program. A few of us said Tom Mix, Tony. Some said Hopalong Cassidy's Topper. The majority on the poll said Champion. The majority wins. The correct answer is D, Gene Autry's Champion. The Adventures of Champion aired on Mutual from June to November 1949. This is disappointing. Champion was not actually on the show. What kind of show is that? Jack? But he was voiced by animal impersonator Dave Light. So really it should be The Adventures of Dave Light as Champion. There you go.
Be champion.
Number 3. The Hearts Mountain Master Canaries musical radio show, try saying that 5 times fast, was sponsored by who? I actually thought this was a trick question. So when I answered it at first, I was like, is it Hearts Mountain pet food? Could it be? Well, the majority went for it, for B, and you are correct. It is B, Hearts Mountain pet food. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Number 4, Rin Tin Tin was a movie, TV, and radio star. And as a puppy, this German Shepherd was rescued in an abandoned litter on a World War I French battlefield. Also rescued with Rin Tin Tin was a female littermate who was named what? Oh, we were fairly spread on this one. Many of us said Nanette. A lot said Yvette, a few said Gabrielle, and one said Dominique, which makes me want to do the song. Dominique. Okay. The correct answer is A, Nanette. Nanette, she died of pneumonia after being brought to the U.S. Jack, downer facts. That was, really. Number 5. In Challenge of the Yukon, Sergeant Preston's primary companion was his husky named Yukon what? Oh, Jack.
King.
This one, I almost couldn't quite get through this one. Looks like most everybody said Yukon King. We had a little bit for Yukon Princess, which I really like personally. But the answer is A, Yukon King, who was voiced by Dewey Cole of WXYZ, the first sound man to get paid as an actor for voicing an animal. There you go. Number 6. The voices of horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. were usually produced for Radio How. This was the one that I was losing it, Jack. This was a good one. I was losing it. Cued by the trainer, the animals made the required sounds. Nobody guessed that one. Random recordings were collected from the animals and then later selected as appropriate and then replayed as part of the radio show. That's kind of plausible. I like that one, so some of us picked that one. Talented men and women voiced virtually all of the animal sounds. That's what the majority said here on the poll. But my personal favorite is D, that most dogs and cats who are at the microphone were cued by their trainers. Speak. Large animals like horses and untrainable animals like chickens. Are chickens really untrainable?
No,
I don't
they
know.
are trainable.
Has anybody tried? Apparently Dad has, so that's just kind of strange. Were impersonated by men or women skilled in this art. Well, the correct answer is C. Talented men and women voiced virtually all of the animal sounds that we heard on radio. There you go. So C is the correct answer, even though Jack was trying to make me lose it. Number 7. On Run for the Mounties, the opening wolf cry was voiced by a sound effects person with a very appropriate name that also had me in stitches. Was it Brad Barker? Most of us think yes. What? Nobody guessed Walter Woof Woof? I liked that guy. I want to hear more about his credits. How about Gertrude Growl? She sounds like somebody I want to stay away from. Or Brenda Bow Wow. She sounds pretty friendly. But the correct answer is Brad Barker. A. Number 8. 3 radio heroes each rode a Palomino. Roy Rogers, Straight Arrow, and Bobby Benson. And what was the name of Bobby's Palomino? We were very spread on this one. We were tied on the poll with Amigo and Flash, but then some of us still said Biscuit and a few of us said Lightning. The correct answer is the bees have it. Amigo. When animal impersonator Frank Milano was asked on one of his radio auditions, if he could make the sound of a mosquito, what did he say? I'm glad he didn't say, I don't know what's a mosquito, because I don't know who that guy is. Heck no, nobody can. Somehow, none of us were fooled by that one, Jack. But it seems like most of us went for, do you want male or female? And that is the correct answer. Did he get the job? Yes, he did. He got the job. And last question. And Lassie. I love Lassie. Oh, I was very excited about this question. Lassie was the star of radio, movies, and television. My personal favorite is Lassie Come Home. The original appearance of Lassie was in short story in the December 1938 issue of Saturday Evening Post. A silent motion picture in 1931. A novel by Eric Knight published in 1940. Or a 1943 MGM film with Elizabeth Taylor. If you're a big Lassie fan like me, you would think you would have gotten this right, but I didn't. The correct answer is A, a short story in the December 1938 issue of Saturday Evening Post. Who knew? I didn't, and I love Lassie. A book publisher read the story and asked Eric Knight to expand it into a novel, which he did. That's what I guessed. That book, published 2 years later, was then the basis of the 1943 MGM movie with Elizabeth Taylor, and the rest is history. And Lassie Come Home is the best, and you can't argue with me because you're muted. So, an excellent quiz, Jack. This one was particularly fun, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. So, yay, Jack. Well done.
Very good. I guess we'll need to call on Lassie to take this home. If
Hey!
and unless there's anything else anybody wants to add, I'd like to motion to have this meeting adjourned.
All right.
I'd like to share a thought. Okay.
Yes.
I found first of all, thank you everyone for welcoming me here and allowing me to enjoy your company. It's been great to see and talk to people about old time radio, which I haven't in a while. Some old friends, some new friends, and it's appreciated. The other thing is I found a video on YouTube, which I wanted to share the link to. It's an episode of What's My Line? And one of the guests was somebody that many of us may know from Friends of Old Time Radio. So I could share that. If you want me to tell you who it is, I can do that. If you want me to leave it as a surprise. But he's a sound effects person. So that many of you may guess. But it's a nice vintage clip where he talks a little bit briefly about sound effects that people have to guess his occupation. And he's somebody that many of us had a relationship with. So I thought it might be something of interest to some.
Oh, would you tell us who it was? Because I don't have YouTube.
Okay, if you want, I can. The guest star was Bob Mutt. I don't know how many of you remember him, but he was there, and they had to guess his occupation. And if my memory is correct, they didn't have. He wasn't the guest, but he was a guest, and it's that we had in not having interest. If you need me to email you the link, if you don't get it through Zoom, I can do that or something like that.
Hey, did I see someone else raise their hand? Closing comment? Now, Mark. Yes. You share something, Mark?
No.
No? Oh, I thought, yeah, I saw you raise your hand, so.
He's killing mosquitoes.
Very good. So, once more, and if anything else, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, okay, I see John Abbott seconding it. Okay, very good. Then I hereby declare this April 2021 meeting of the Metrotown Washington Old Time Radio Club adjourned. Everyone have a great weekend. I guess we'll see you in May.
Hi, everybody. This was fun.
It was great fun. Well done, Sally.
Good night, good night, Edgar.
Bye. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
It was really good. It was fun.
Ron and Margie leave.
Miss Wendy.
Yes.
When you get a chance, send me the files, and I'll apply my usual prestidigitation to it and put it on YouTube.
Wonderful. I'll probably have. Usually, it takes them a few hours to get it, so I'll I'll get it tomorrow morning and shoot it on to you.
No rush. I got the rest of the week to worry about it.
No, good. Well, great stuff. And thank you. You know, and I know that Bert is very appreciative of the fact that you've taken that over, because he's just quite, you know, life is pretty overwhelming at this moment for him.
Yeah.
For who? So thank you so much, John. That's really wonderful. That's a wonderful service.
Just trying to keep my brain wrapped around all of this electronic technology. And I'm sure Jack
There you go.
appreciate that.
Well, at some point, you know, you may be able to get some of the older meetings that didn't get posted from Fred, because he does have them. He's downloaded them.
Yeah. All she's got to do is put them on a CD and send them to me.
Oh, there's a good thought.
Turn off the lamp.
You did.
Bye, guys. Have a
I
good
haven't
night.
seen him.
Night.
Bye-bye.
That was
Great
a
to
great,
see you.
Next month.
great program.
Great fun and great
Did a great
quiz,
job,
Jack.
Dennis
Is Jack
Sleeping.
still on? What?
John, you're doing great.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was that was really fun and a wonderful program.
Definitely, Frank.
Is Frank still on?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
There
Yes.
he is.
I mean, the squares move as people, you know, lead. So it's sort of like you need a scorecard to keep up with which tile are they in now. That was a great program, Frank. Thank you.
Yes, very well researched.
Yes, and
Yes.
I am a great fan of the police procedurals. So,
Mhm.
you know,
have
it
to
was
do
just
it.
fun to hear more
Hey,
and
John,
learn about some I'd never heard of, actually.
Did I hear? Did somebody rang?
I did. Who played Randy Singer and yours truly, Johnny Dollar?
Herb Vigran,
Thank you.
amongst
Little
other things.
piece of
He was
news
the main
from
one.
You were a little slow on that answer.
I had to make up a name. That's the first one that came to mind. He's lucky
And
he
it may
asked
or may
the
not be
question
the
I had the
actual
answer to.
answer to the question, but it sounds good.
Yeah,
It was Herb Vigran.
yeah, he's listed in the credits. So, all right.
Come on, you can't do it.
No,
No.
I'm not gonna let that one go for a while. I was like, that's okay. I drew a picture of a dancing beat in the, you know, and then I was like, the beat goes on. Get it? It's
Oh, good night, everybody.
as long as you're not a dancing mosquito.
Wow.
Oh, Dennis. Dennis.
All right, bye, everybody.
All right.
Goodbye.
I
My favorite is Broadway Is My Beat. That was always my favorite.
like that one. It's fun. They all have. I mean, all of them have an aspect or another that I really enjoy. So it's, you know, it's really fun.
Well, what
I enjoyed my Italian Paisan Tartaglia. There, I always listened for Tartag.
There you go.
But you feel sorry for Danny Clover. He's kind of a loner, and you know, he'll hang out with Tartaglia's family. He'll mention occasionally, but you know, at times he sounds just beat up. And but you know, I thought Friedkin and Fine, their scripts were just really terrific.
Oh, they're so hilarious. Their scripts are so funny.